Tell you how excited we are right now in studio. Guys, both Cody and Brandi Rhodes are here. AEW, it's coming in hot. October 2nd on TNT. All Elite Wrestling Dynamite, it debuts. You guys are doing a preview show on the 1st also, yes?
Yeah, the Countdown Special.
Awesome. So, look, man, we've been...
I feel you should give them their exact titles. We have one of the executive vice presidents of All Elite Wrestling and the chief branding officer.
The only one.
The only chief. Because it's like 5 executive vice presidents.
You worked hard for that, girl.
It's true.
Yeah.
Look, Cody, we've been talking about this for a long time on this show, and one of the things we've been going back and forth on Twitter with Star Wars, our love for Star Wars, and then I didn't even know a lot about it until about a year and a half, 2 years ago when I started listening and hearing about AEW and what you guys have been doing. And I got to give you respect for what we were just talking about before you came in, because, and correct me if I'm wrong, you had a shot if you wanted to go back to WWE, continue that route, and instead you said, no, I'm going to go on my own route. You built up big relationships, and here we are. You get yourself an investor. You go out on your own, and AEW now, it's going, not head-to-head, we won't say, with WWE, but it's starting to cause this fire in the industry.
Yeah, and at this point, AEW just being announced, if October 2nd is our only show, say that's our only show, say we're not weekly on TNT, the business has gone through a change now because of AEW and because of the fandom that can't be undone.
Right.
Guys and girls now have the opportunity for more money. Guys and girls have the opportunity for a healthier schedule. It's just the best possible time. It is a perfect storm because around All In, when we did our own self-promoted show and we had the big sellout, at the end of the night, we thought not so much about starting a company. We thought, well, let's just do another one of these.
Right.
And it was Tony and him having this fear of influence and being, the business acumen and the fact that he's a billionaire wrestling consumer. These series of events that led us to it are absolutely nuts. I hope somebody writes a book about it one day. I hope it's a complimentary book.
Yeah.
So so between yourself, the Bucks, or Megan, nobody would have ever thought of actually having a promotion. You guys are just like, we'll run these one-off shows.
I didn't take his call.
Really?
I didn't, and I didn't deny him, but I just heard, hey, Tony wants to talk to you, and thought, I grew up in the wrestling business. I've had so many people tell me, I want to start a wrestling promotion, including my dad, who just threw $3 million in a hole in our backyard. That was essentially our wrestling promotion. It's just a risky venture.
Right.
Matt Jackson of the Young Bucks took that call. And then at Fridays in Tokyo, Japan, is where we all decided, we're going to do it.
But what was the selling point? What was the reason? Like you said, a lot of people had come up to you and had said this to you before. What was it about Tony that you said, no, wait a minute, this is the one?
2 things. I went to see Tony. He hosted us at a Jags game, and I got to watch him manage and lead because he's a senior vice president for the Jags in Jacksonville. Mm-hmm. And when you're managing and leading NFL athletes at the level he was, but the way he was managing and leading them, I was just fly on the wall watching, so impressed with his management style. And he was vetting us, but I was, vetting him in this moment too. And then the other factor of it all is myself, Matt, Nick, and Kenny, if we stick together, it's risky, but it's not as risky, if that makes any sense. We can keep him responsible, and Tony can keep us responsible. It's a really self-aware checks and balances group.
And with that checks and balances, you are an executive. You're behind the scenes. Both of you all are now watching the live program, and you, Cody, as well as you as Brandi, being in-ring performers. Do you feel like that puts an extra level of pressure on you all?
I mean, it could if you're broken easily that way. I mean, because we do pride ourselves in that we listen to what the fans want. But at this stage in the game, there are some things where they just kind of have to let them play out because we've had 4 pay-per-views. We haven't had 3 months of television of you guys having no idea what's going on. So once the TV show starts to roll out and they start to see things week to week, I think that's going to really verify for them that, hey, what we said is true. These are trustworthy people putting this together, and the best stuff is what's going to continue to live.
You mentioned the landscape changing and how this is great for all wrestlers and everybody involved. And actually, I have several friends in the WWE who behind the scenes have told me what a great opportunity AEW has given them so that they can negotiate more and so that they can get better health, money, whatever it is. Do you have people coming up to you guys from WWE thanking you for what you guys are doing for their careers?
Yeah, I've gotten a bunch of texts from talent who weren't there when I was there, who new talent, who I don't know. And probably that's the nicest thing ever is just to hear from, there was a specific tag team that sent us a text that said thank you. we got a bigger deal than we ever expected, and we appreciate it because, the fact that they thought we might go towards you guys.
Yeah, sure.
I tell people all the time, because we have a great roster and there's not as many openings left, but I tell people all the time, I'm like, hey, if you want WWE to pay you more money, just take a picture with my dog or tweet something at us.
Yeah.
They're doing it.
I want to talk about the roster real quick. You guys have a lot of established talent. Yourself, Cody. You've got Jericho, Moxley, Spears, Pac, Omega. You have so many established stars, but at the same time, you have a bunch of new stars who are new to fans, who may not be invested in the indies, who may not be invested in smaller circles. MJF, for one example. How do you guys expect to put these guys over? Because the other was already over.
You got a character profile. I go out for every match I actually treat every match as if the audience has never seen me before. I try to, in the match, sell who I am to them for the very first time. In this case, when it comes to MJF, Darby Allin, Luchasaurus, Jungle Boy, all that, that's why we've tried to do a lot on YouTube as far as shoulder content with these personal stories. We have to bring that to the TV as well, is these personal stories. Because wrestling in-ring action, which we're going big on bell to bell, is great. It's way better when you actually know who the people are and you have a reason to cheer for them.
It's investment.
It's
investment. So that was another question, because one of the things that was so attractive to me about AEW, and please, you guys be able to speak on this better than what I've heard, but what I used to love about wrestling as a kid was that the titles meant something, that rankings meant something, that you had to earn it. Like, you couldn't just show up in a storyline that day and say, "Oh, I'm going to fight for the title tonight." Why? Because that's what we want to do tonight. And it just you lose that attachment. Sure. Is that accurate? Are you guys going to be making it more like, it's going to feel like the old school kind of pay-per-view big event title matches? Like, there's going to be more to it?
Yeah, the big fight feel, you can't just say it on commentary. Right. And all of a sudden the crowd's like, yeah, it's a big fight feel. Has to actually mean something. A really great thing that we're doing, we have only the 4 shows, so the numbers are low in terms of records and stats, but we're going off those. And we're not going to give you a fake general manager or a fake commissioner. It's very obvious who runs the company. So if there's a big title match that needs to be made, Tony Khan's going to make that title match. He did it for Jericho and I. And as far as the titles being rolled out, the tag titles being presented in this tournament, the fact that you've got to get through this tournament, all our titles will be treated, no pun intended, as absolute gold. Unless you're a complete lunatic idiot and you get the title stolen or you forget it. But we got it back. We got it back.
I want to talk about one title in particular, because this is a big thing you all have focused on, is the women's title. And with that, the inclusivity, and especially Nyla Rose, who has made history with you all. How do you continue to go forward with that?
I don't know if we've told the real story with Nyla Rose. I'm cool telling the real story if it's not out there. When we hired Nyla Rose, we did not know she was transgender. We thought she was one of the best wrestlers we ever saw. That was that. It later was revealed to us that she was transgender, and that's great.
Quite a night on Twitter.
How was it revealed to you guys?
Via the internet.
Oh.
I was getting floods of tweets from people of the LGBTQ community just saying, thank you. And I'm saying, for what? What did I do? Yeah. And then I found that out, and then, she opened up to me and talked about it, and that was fantastic. However, it's nothing to do with anything, because she's just a fantastic competitor. Right. She was brought on board. I think Kenny Omega was the one to find her and say, hey, take a look at her.
Did Kenny know or no, he didn't know?
None of us knew. Okay. Nobody knew.
Which I really like, because there's no attempt to just check a box for the sake.
And I'm glad you said that, because a lot of people had come out and said you guys were just trying to pander having Nyla, given the fact Nyla is a credible talent. Yeah. And people were like, oh, they're just trying to do this and check these boxes off. Right. But not knowing now, and people knowing this, the world now knowing that you all had no clue until the internet basically told you, and then she told you.
Yeah, and that's all. That's her story. That's not something that I like to talk about for her, because it's her story, and if it's something she's comfortable talking about and telling, that's great. And hey, if she wins the world title next week and she wants to talk about that being a part of her life, wonderful. If not, cool.
Right.
There's been a lot of conversation about the Olympics and whether or not trans people should be able to compete if you're a trans woman in the women's division or whatnot. Was that ever a conversation after you guys found out whether or not she should be able to compete in that way?
No.
Not one that we were having.
Yeah.
You see that chatter on the internet, and that's one of those things that Tony's been really great about. It's 2019.
Right.
We're not even gonna humor it. We're
Well,
not
in
even
some
gonna hear it.
promotions, we do intergender wrestling where that is looked upon highly. So I don't see how you could look at that and say that is okay, and then say that, a transgender woman or man wanting to wrestle is not okay.
And you talk about like promotions like that. I've seen Candice LeRae back when I was on the Indies. Well, I'm back on. Her have some of the greatest matches ever with guys. And no one ever complains about those, like you just said. And so I feel like you guys have established a solid women's roster. And I see it's only going to grow. You all brought back Awesome Kong. How did that
I brought back Awesome Kong.
You brought back... Okay, I'm sorry. Excuse me, Cody. Brandi, you brought back...
This actually spawns off into two questions. I want to know how you got Awesome Kong. Then I really want to know the conversation. If you've told it already, I apologize. I haven't heard it, but the Bret Hart showing up at that event and how that all went down. So if we can talk about how you got Awesome Kong and then Bret Hart, please.
Okay, I will try to be brief about this because this is like really important to me. So the first person I ever did anything in the ring with in my entire life was Awesome Kong. I was at FCW. She had been brought to FCW to start working into the role that she was going to be. And no one was talking to her. So I started talking to her, and she said, "Hey, you want to learn something?" And I said, "Great, yeah, sure." And she taught me my first move. From that, Cody's dad, Dusty, he was doing all of the character work at the time. He saw, some kind of relationship between us that would be cool. And I thought, yeah, that would be amazing. I was supposed to manage her after she went, on her huge rampage, wrecking through the locker room and killing all the women. I was supposed to be the only person who could talk to her. Right. Never happened because of circumstances, and it's always been in my heart to happen. So I went out on a limb and reached out to her on this. I mean, she hadn't been in the ring for, 8 years? So I was like, hey, it could be a big no. She's doing Glow. But she was super excited about it. She'd been following everything, and I was just like, great, let's do this. She was scared, too. The day of the show, she revealed to me, she goes, "Do you think they'll remember me?" And I just laughed. I said, wait until your Tron hits. And when I'm standing on the stage there, I feel it shaking. Cool. Yeah. And there's that clip that lives with me, with my head back just laughing. It was just because it was such a great moment for her, for everybody. So.
Yeah. And as far as Bret
was very simple. It was just a nice phone call where I explained to him what we're doing and how it's not intended. I didn't want to put anyone in a situation where I don't want you to get, I don't know if the word trouble, but I didn't want you to have any issues with WWE.
Right, because it was just like a couple weeks after the Hall of Fame.
This Bret Hart is the excellence of execution. Right. A lot of the wrestlers on our roster are Bret Hart guys. You were like a Bret Hart guy, or you were Shawn Michaels guy. Yep. a lot of them are Bret Hart guys, and he really loves kind of the familial aspect. My brother and I, and being in the family, the business, and I respect him so much. But it wasn't a difficult thing. He was really excited to be part of it, and for us, the day went by so fast that was the moment where I really thought, this is a huge surprise that we are. It's just happening, and we're like, there's other surprises on the show, but this is a huge surprise, and it was really validating. He rubbed up against us, and he helped vindicate the company in a really strong way. So I hope we see more of Bret. He's just the best, and
Me too.
Really great to work with.
I was a Bret Hart guy myself, but a couple things I want to ask you, because like you said earlier in the interview, that when you have the wrestlers on both sides that now you guys are creating a lot of opportunity for, the same goes into competition. And like we saw in one of the pay-per-views where you smashed the throne, and we've done that. We've had we've had a couple of comments back and forth.
Made a couple of gifs about that.
Maybe so. So let me ask you about NXT, because NXT now going up same time against you guys. Yeah. And the thing with NXT is that a lot of people are saying they were, even before you guys were coming around, that NXT was the most exciting thing that WWE has right now.
Sure.
Do you think that their answer, I mean, I'm sure that the easy answer is yes here, but that this is their answer to you guys by putting NXT directly up against you guys?
Well, I do think that NXT going directly up against us and then switching to 2 hours the week we debut is 100% reactionary. I'm not saying it's a smart move or not a smart move. It's just 100% reactionary, whereas I like that. Yeah. Because we were always going to be on TNT. This was always the time slot. We just have to focus on what we're doing. We can't. If we become a reactionary brand, I think that's a bad call.
Right.
I think we got to focus on, especially building our new cast, because what happens when you become reactionary is it becomes about, well, the Undertaker is going to be teaming with Johnny Gargano, and then all of a sudden you're grasping for pieces of nostalgia and you're playing the wrong notes versus what I think we already have, which is a product that people want to see.
And on top of establishing the cast, I'm sorry about that, establishing new fans to wrestling who may have fallen off.
Sure.
How do you intend to grab those?
Oof. I mean, that's the question. And that we had a lady come up to us in the airport after Chicago, and she used the best term ever. She said, "I just wanted you guys to know I'm a returner."
That's awesome.
And I thought, oh,
Yeah, that's awesome.
I love that. I want to meet all the returners.
Yeah.
I think the idea of a little bit more adult-oriented, sports-centric, violent wrestling show appears to the shadow market, appeals to the lapsed fan. I think naturally that will bring them in for weeks 1, weeks 2, but what's going to keep them is if they have a human connection. If they feel like they can reach across the barricade, if they know you. I've been really lucky because I don't have to play anything. At this point, I couldn't even play a character. Everything I do out there is 100% real at this point. I'm really the executive vice president. Dustin's really my brother. I really am putting my whole ass on the line for this company. So it's great. They can feel that. They can understand that.
Well, you did that, and you did that in a big way. And this is a two-part question here because the chair shot that I know you got a lot of stuff for on Twitter or where it came from.
Yeah.
I want to ask you how when you took this shot to the head, because you talk about the ultra violence, and you are the main executive in this company. Mm-hmm. What was the conversation like there? Did you know he was going to do it? How did you feel about that?
So one of the best things about the company is everybody's very trusting of each other. We trust each other's judgments with this and that and the other. So it's not super micromanaged of every moment. I need to know everything that's happening. The shocking moment to me in the whole thing was the entire thing played out, and I got in the ring, and I had my moment with Aubrey, the referee, protecting me because Spears is crazy. And when all of that happened, finally I looked at him, and there's blood everywhere. And that I did not know.
Yeah.
So I'm confused and very upset. And
the lip got me. The lip of the chair.
Yeah.
Tony went out and put out a statement properly as he did. We went to great pains to take back chair shots by soldering and ironing out a proper way to do it. And the lip of it, we just didn't get all of it.
As Tony likes to say, pilot error. And that was day one and done of the props department.
But I was totally okay in doing it, and here's why. Captain America's hitting people in the head with his shield, and no one's screaming concussion, no one is screaming CTE, no one's making any of these references. If you're going to hold us to a certain standard at this point in 2019, if we were talking to you as far as an entertainment brand, then you can't hold us to an older standard, if that makes any sense. So I wanted to take chair shots back for wrestling. However, I don't think it was a success, and I think maybe that was the last head shot in AEW for with the chair
Because of fan reaction?
Well, it's because of fan reaction and the 12 staples in the back of my head.
Right.
Thankfully, I didn't have a concussion, but yeah, let's say fan reaction. There's something to shock and there's something to polarizing, but also the best thing you can be as a wrestler or a wrestling company in this case right now is to listen to them.
Right.
I put a statement out yesterday about John Cena told me when I wrestled him in some live event like 2009, he got really upset with me because the crowd was clapping and I didn't allow him to get up from the hold he was in. And he explained to me whenever they do anything, if they make any type of noise, stomp their feet, anything, if you don't give them something, they'll make less noise the next time, then they won't make any noise. And it's a nice comparison, to the overall picture that when they ask for something, you need to give them that. And especially if they overwhelmingly ask. If the wrestling world doesn't want to see chair shots to the head, fair enough.
Where's the line for you? Because you talked about not being reactionary.
Yeah.
That's something you guys don't want to be. But also you got to listen to your fans and hear what they're saying.
Well, in that light, I feel like we challenge the fans to be diplomatic about what they actually really do want. Because if you're just looking for reactions or a day of Twitter activity, you could very well forge something into existence or non-existence that you didn't intend to, because like we said, your voices do count. So if you're just having a bad day and rampaging around about something that you really don't care about, and then you wonder down the line, oh, I kind of liked that. What happened? Well, you tried to cancel it, and we did.
Yeah, we've got to be real careful. I'm sure you guys know about this. You got to be real careful about if 3 people tweet 300 times, it's still 3 people.
Right.
We got to find the way to actually judge the metric. And Turner has this wonderful team where you can actually look at, oh man, these people really liked Luchasaurus.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you can actually get a good
Majority.
feel for it. Yes.
Yeah, for sure. One of the things you're talking about listening to fans, one of the things that I've seen a lot of, and not that you're going to reveal it even if it came out, but as far as conversations with CM Punk, I mean, there's rumors that he's been around a couple of shows and stuff. What's the possibility that we ever see him on an AEW show?
50-50? I really like Phil, and he was really nice to me when I was in OVW as kind of a leader. He was a locker room leader, and then he had such a successful run in WWE, and I never really had an adversarial relationship with him. I know he doesn't like when we discuss him, but I think I even explained it to him once. A lot of people ask us about you.
I asked that.
Yeah, I don't want to say no comment. And then I think I just don't think he knows. Perhaps he doesn't want to be involved with wrestling at all anymore. And if that's the case, no big deal. You gave us your body, you gave us this body of work, and CM Punk was an awesome wrestler. But he did kind of make us look like kind of dumbasses, saying we sent him a text offer. I'm sure we texted him, but we also called him. Someone also met you in a coffee shop. We made genuine efforts. Mm-hmm. But in this case, 2019, it's been quite some time away from the ring. We got to focus on who really wants to be on board with us versus going out and finding someone who perhaps doesn't really want to be part of this.
Did you ask him why he did that? Why he said that you guys sent him the text and kind of made you guys look not as the way you wanted to look?
I didn't really communicate with him further after that. I expected to see him at StarCast. He gave this really great live show that he did with Mike Johnson where he was really, great with his answers. I'm sure we'll run into each other at some point. If he ever wanted to come be part of this and he had the passion to come back to wrestling, that door is always open. No ego, no situation would ever prevent us from having him come in because the fans have never given up on Punk, ever.
Right.
It's crazy.
Right.
One of the things I want to ask you guys about real quick is we talk about the talent you have in front of the camera, but behind the scenes, you guys have incorporated some legends as far as getting Arn Anderson, Dean Malenko, people to help build the company, Billy Gunn. How does that feel, having that veteran leadership who's been in TV production with you all now to help you all grow from just your first show to hopefully your second and more?
I can say that having Dean Malenko around, for example, man, Jim Ross and Dean Malenko, when we're in these production meetings and we're talking, you can see how much knowledge they have, and you can see that as soon as that production meeting's over, they're going to come find you and ask you about 20 different things and maybe suggest 20 different ways you could do it. We've really leaned into Dean in terms of TV production. Mm-hmm. We're not going to pretend that we've ever done this before. We've done these pay-per-views, yes, but this is our first time going on TNT. Right. But also, we want the opportunity to do it. So Dean and Jim, these guys have been great about giving advice, but allowing us to do it on our own, allowing us to succeed or make some mistakes. So we've really leaned into them. Hopefully Arn can be something we use more in the future. He was just at, All Out, but I'd like to see him more down the road. I actually think Arn could be a terrific manager.
Arn was one of the nicest, but when I was a writer for WWE, he was the nicest human. He was the nicest guy to me. Like, he was welcoming because when you come in there, especially, when I came in from LA, they're like, who is this guy? Why is he? And he was welcoming. He introduced me to a lot of people. He's one of those people that I saw as you saw them talking to all the wrestlers. Yeah. Respect. So having people like that helps tremendously. But Brandi, I wanted to ask you for the returners that are watching right now, right? So when you guys debut next week, if they haven't thought about coming back, and now because of this interview they want to, what should they expect to see next week?
Really, AEW is for everyone. It's kind of a grab bag of everything for everybody, and that's even within divisions. So if you're just speaking about, say, the women's division, it's not just one way you shake it at the women's division. You have people like me. You have people like Britt Baker. You have the Joshi wrestlers. You've got Nyla Rose. You've got people that's literally 4 different styles right there, and that's not even half the roster, and that's women. So when you look and you've got people like Orange Cassidy and you have Luchasaurus and then you have classic people like Chris Jericho and Cody, there's something in that for everyone. And then not only that, but there's just something super contagious about the AEW environment in general. I'm really hoping that people are able to see from just watching on TV what the Capital One Center is like next week. Right. It's going to be an atmosphere that you're not able to describe, especially when you're in it. But I really hope that translates on screen as to how excited people are, how much fun people are having, how involved people actually are in the show. And, I mean, to me, that's what ropes me. Yeah. For various things, or that's what, if there's something that I had paid attention to, for instance, I'm a huge horror fan, but I do have moments where I fall off and then something completely grabs me and I'm fully back in and I'm, searching Netflix for everything I can consume that's related to horror. I think it's like that for these people. Maybe they've had their little bit of time away or they forgot about it or, seasonal things have changed in their life. But I hope that if they turn the TV on next week, they're back in it again. Yeah. And it's every Wednesday, we've got to do this. The next thing you know, every pay-per-view I've got to be at, I got to check that StarCast thing out. I want to go meet Brandi and Cody. Please come meet me. I like people. It doesn't seem like it, but I do.
Well, and unfortunately, we're going to lose you guys here in a second, but at one point, we got to get you on Jedi Council. We got to talk Star Wars with you, man, for sure.
Yeah,
I know you're a Star Wars hardcore.
Big time. We were just in Batu. We got a little Rancor beer flight board. I was super excited. Tony Schiavone got one too.
Oh, really? That's amazing.
And Josh is going to be so upset we didn't get to his one question that he needed.
I know the one. Well, the one he wanted to know what your thoughts were on whether or not you thought the XFL was going to succeed again.
That is the question McCougar had.
Yeah.
He needed to know.
No clue.
No clue.
I mean, right now, the NFL is the greatest business. And then under that, you're competing with the NCAA in the first place with D1 football. No?
Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
I like the Star Wars question.
I know, that's true. But the last thing, though, too, is what we all do have in common also. I think one of the things, running the Movie Trivia Schmodown, what I have been lucky enough to, one of our post-interview is Jen Sturger. And you guys have been using Jen Sturger a lot on your shows. Will we be seeing a lot more of her on these shows too? Because she's just so good, and she gets the drama out there. She gets it,
and she is really passionate about you all. Her and I have a lot of conversations. She loves what you all are doing.
Hold on, I'm about to text her and be like, "What's this pitch here?" Because
everybody's
building.
Yeah.
I like Jen, and all the older gentlemen in the company really like Jim. Like Jim Ross always.
Not
Jen
surprised.
I've never seen Jim Ross do more podcasts in the last. He's done like 20 with Jen Sturger.
He brings it up pretty regularly. Is she a co-host? It's fun though. I would love her to be Tony Schiavone's co-host in the control center that we do for the Road 2 shows. That's my goal, but I got to get Jen to Atlanta to film those. So. We're working on it.
Yeah.
Well, guys, you're working on a lot of stuff, and we're so excited for the show. We'll be watching. This is awesome what you guys have done in general for the business. Thank you very much, and congratulations and good luck.